Welcome back to Sit Down Startup Podcast. I'm Pedro.
And I'm Tara. Thanks for listening in and subscribing to our podcast. We promise to keep bringing you stories of fascinating startups navigating the changing tides of 2020. You'll see that our guests continue to drive growth and innovation while putting customer experience at the heart of their success. And that only helps as startups build for a new future.
From one home office to another, Zendesk leaders chat with founders, CEOs, and makers on their startup journey. On this podcast, you'll learn how to start up from leaders of fast-growing companies across the globe.
Our next guest is Magnus Pettersson, COO at Mindler. Mindler is a startup founded in Sweden. Their solution connects individuals with more than 150 licensed psychologists. Mindler's vision is to break most of the barriers that patients face when looking for mental health care. This startup has been helping people before the pandemic, but has become even more critical now. It seems the world is focusing on the importance of mental health care these days.
To chat with Magnus, we invited Warren Levitan, SVP of Platform at Zendesk. Warren is a serial entrepreneur, passionate about building startups. He has 2 decades of experience, and on his last venture, he founded Smooch, Zendesk's latest acquisition that today powers our social messaging product.
Are you ready? Let's sit down and start up.
Magnus, it's amazing to have you here. Looking forward to our conversation today. And, to kick things off, in an ideal world, I think we'd be sitting at the terrace of a cafe in either Stockholm or Montreal somewhere, as opposed to doing this remotely. Probably imagine ourselves at some great cafe, and to set our tone here, what's your favorite drink? What would you be drinking if we were out there having a conversation?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I love coffee. I mean, Swedes are, I think, among the coffee drinkers in the world, we're on the top when it comes to coffee drinking by capita. So I love coffee. I don't want to ruin it though. So I preferably do black coffee most of the time. Americano, espresso, double espresso, etc. That's my favorite. How about you?
Well, I think we're in the same boat there. I'm an Americano man. If it's got to be really fast, I guess you go for the espresso shot, but I like to make it last, but really enjoy that pure black coffee. So we're on the same page there.
Great.
So I'm so incredibly interested in Mindler's story. I think, most of the people listening today are going to obviously relate to remote psychological help services in light of living through a global pandemic, right? But Mindler was founded well before COVID. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about the inspiration, the founding story of Mindler, and that foresight to make psychological help available to whoever needs it, wherever they are.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it was founded by pure beliefs in that, we need to make it more accessible. It was founded by 2 psychologists and a medical doctor, a GP. And in Sweden, even if we have a good healthcare system, accessibility to psychological help wasn't really good enough. I mean, depending on where you live, of course, the waiting time could be long before you could get help. And for someone not feeling well within, psychologically, even days could be too much. So you could literally get the same treatment now by meeting digitally. And I must also add that, even better treatment with today's technology. So they felt the urge to get started. And of course, we do have some other digital players within the medical field, like doctor-wise. But we believe that, you can get the same treatment meeting face-to-face versus digitally.
And so how does that accessibility relate sort of when you're doing it digitally versus in person? What are some of the big changes? Is it time to get into an appointment? Is it just about less travel time? What are those different variables that change?
Yeah, so there are many ones. That basically, I mean, Sweden is a big country, large in terms of area and not populated that dense in the northern part, so to say. So, if, for instance, if you live in the northern part of Sweden, I mean, the closest medical doctor center could be, many kilometers away, right? So getting to that medical center to get treatment, well, basically you get there and you realize that, okay, yeah, there's a psychologist I can get help from. However, that psychologist is here once a month and the queue for that one is a couple of months. You need to wait, you need to travel. by making it accessible online, and you can book appointment, you can select a psychologist that fits your need and has the specialties and the treatment capacity that you're looking for. I mean, you basically get to choose who you feel that you can trust, and you get to try it. And we promise that you can get a booked appointment within 24 hours. And so far, we've managed to keep that, which is great.
Within 24 hours sounds massively impactful for psychological service and care. I mean, that's a game changer.
And not only that, even if you would be able to travel, and there are many cases that we treat people that they are not capable of leaving their home. They have social phobia. So, then you don't really need, or you can access it from your couch. Or if you work somewhere, you don't need to take a day off to go to see a psychologist. You can just, tap in on a break and meet with a psychologist. We have many of those cases.
Amazing. And clearly the company is onto something, because you've enabled more than 100,000 digital psychological visits already in under 2 years, or just over 2 years. I mean, that's huge to me. And when you think about that, and you think about some of those keys to success around whether it's attracting customers to operational scaling, right? What are some of the key elements that you guys look at as what you've done really well, what you've learned has been key to your success?
Yeah, I mean that is some decent numbers. We're super happy for that, without doubt. And this is just the beginning. I'm not gonna give away too much of our secret recipe, but I believe in a few things, and that is a little bit. I think that we are now, we're changing the way how you can get help within healthcare. So not just mental health, so to say. And I think each interaction that you have with someone who's not feeling fine is very delicate, right? So our psychologists are, of course, they're professionals within this. But we deal with tech solutions, and sometimes tech is not really on your side. So then it's crucial to have the best-in-class customer experience as well for the patients and help them out. And given the current situation, we have no problem in attracting patients to come to us, but it requires some more to get them to trust you and to carry on getting treated as well. So there's a combination of things. So everything from the, how you meet with them on a customer experience, the psychologist and everything. So we have combined it all, and we're quite happy with those 100,000, but we look forward to be even further on expanding that and increasing that.
Let's double click on the customer experience point. It's one of the reasons I was so interested in this conversation. I've worked in customer experience for probably around 2 decades, all sorts of industries, but I've never, ever even thought about how CX plays a role in psychological treatment. Whether it's, pre-treatment, during treatment, post-treatment, because we think about this in CX, right? Before, during, and after all the time. Any unique challenges or elements of customer experience in this space that you've seen?
Yeah, as mentioned, our patients are not feeling the 100% at all times. One key thing that we noticed that as few touch points as possible is key. You don't want to bother them and ask them about things. If things are not working, you need to sort it out and help them in the best possible way. So our customer service team, they're doing their best and helping out. But I also believe that we are dealing with people that are not feeling well, but they're also in different ages. And you have to have that mindset as well. We provide a tech solution. Not everyone is that familiar into tech and so forth. So of course the tech solution also plays an important role in how does the patient journey work? How easy it is to book appointments, how easy to cancel the appointments or find someone else to treat you and so forth. So we've looked at all those different aspects, but when it comes to customer experience, for instance, as few touch points as possible. That's what I tell my team, that try to help them from the first interaction and get them satisfied, because they're not feeling fine, and they could be from time to time they could be rude. I think many people probably experience that within customer service, but we have that mindset that if someone's not feeling fine, they might have a bad day. Well, we'll try to help them to get a better day.
Whenever I think about customer experience, I generally think about how to remove friction, and secondly, always how to have empathy for the customer. And it sounds like in this case of psychological care, like those two attributes are more critical than ever, which is very interesting, right? Like you talk about not bothering, right? Like you've got people who aren't feeling well. You really need to remove maximum friction here in that experience. And then obviously in the space, empathy, whether it's, rude treatment, you have to have real empathy for that because that these people are struggling.
Definitely, and what we try to do as well. I mean, when it comes to customer success overall, I mean, patience is one thing, but also, well, we work with a lot of psychologists, and to be frank with you, they work. They have a flexible arrangement, so they work from their house, they work from their home, and you're very flexible, and they work at the hours that it fits them. So of course we don't meet them on a day-by-day basis, and sometimes they are also struggling, right? So I mean, our customers are too. It's both the patients and psychologists. They're employed by us, they work together with us, but we don't see them on a day-by-day basis. So we need to make sure that all of them get as much help as possible, and empathy plays a big important role. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Now, when we think about today's environment, specifically about our COVID-19 situation and shelter in place that went into effect around the world, obviously, we got a lot of places coming out of it, some people going back in. But when you think about how COVID and this pandemic impacted Mindler's business, whether it's new customers, how patients actually use the service, or whether it's managing the supply side, how has the pandemic changed the landscape for you from an operational perspective? I mean, it's clear demand must be up, right? But what are some of the challenges you guys faced operationally, if any?
I think, demand is up. I can tell you that, definitely. And we're trying to cope up with that demand for sure. So from the supply side, I think, what has changed is not just within the mental health care, but also within, healthcare overall, that you can get help digitally. I think we've experienced and had some misbeliefs in markets that we operate that, can you really get treated through a digital solution, through video? Is that really, fulfilling? Even on the, state level that, they're looking at this as, no, you need to go see someone face to face. We see many markets now where things are really changing. I think it's changing for the better. If you make something accessible, as long as you still provide the same treatment. And this has been a little bit of a controversy in Sweden before. And after COVID now, things are changing when you all of a sudden realize that, these digital players, doctors or psychological helps, that you can get the same help, or you can even help the physical healthcare that is now, of course, fully packed with the patients to treat, right? That take the easier cases through a digital meeting then. And from a psychological point of view, if people are not allowed to leave their homes, of course that is having that is putting strains on any family, right? If you're not used to spend time together and all of a sudden things are changing, you're getting out of your routines. We have many patients that are coming to us for advice and help, who has more of a not related really to the disease. They're afraid of COVID, but financially they might be impacted, or their relationships in their family has been changed in the terms that you're not used to spend 24 hours a day for weeks together, and if you change those routines, I mean that is having effects on some people. So I think that has changed a lot. So we try to keep up with that demand as good as we can.
Yeah, and that's a super important reminder that the psychological impact here, it's funny that you said isn't always about a health scare. And I mean, that's so logical. Most people I know who are quote unquote suffering through this pandemic, it's not because of actual health. It's the anxiety related to the risks, or it's the anxiety related to your job security. That makes complete sense. It's but on top of it, you might also get those people who are afraid of getting sick, or who are legitimately in very vulnerable positions who should be. In terms of your role, so you're COO at Mindler, and I think in sort of the tech industry, and you guys are clearly a hybrid of tech and medicine. But the COO role can come in so many different shapes and sizes. Would love to understand how your role is defined, how you partner with the founders and other like members of the management team to grow the business. What do you focus on? What are your priorities?
My role is a mixture. We internally sort of a little bit describe it as I'm the spider in the net, just trying to get everything together. A little bit assisting the founders and the CEO, of course. So I look at many different things. I mean, one being the supply, right? Are we having enough psychologists working for us based on the demand that we're having? So on the demand side, of course, working with the marketing team to see, are we visible enough in the market to help as many people as possible? I mean, that's a key objective for us. We want to be visible, we want to be seen, we want to be the first go option when someone is looking for help from a psychologist. So of course that is very, very important. I don't do that work myself, but I just make sure that we have the supply and demand balance in a good shape and form. But then also, I mean, it's also about, as we are a tech company, making sure that the tech is working. Are we having enough people within tech, solving all the bugs and things that we have with our tech solutions, so to say? And also finance, getting the KPIs together and working as a, of course, because we need to look at that from time to time as well to make sure that we can stay sustainable within that. So it is a mixture of the role, spider in the net, and it's a fun work though, really, really fun. I love it. The days just fly by. There's especially now. I mean, I think we've hired so many new psychologists, and currently now the demand is a little bit bigger than the supply, obviously. So we're doing our best.
I mean, I love the analogy of the spider in the net. It creates a great visual to understand. And being in a business where you've got to make sure you've got the supply to meet your demand. Those are good business problems. We all like to solve. Better than not having enough demand. That's for sure. Looking forward, any big changes coming up for the business that create new challenges for you, new priorities for you?
Well, firstly, COVID or pre-COVID, I think mental health issues are on the rise, on a global scale, and there are many different reasons for that. I think, first off, people are a little bit more informed about what different signs of mental health issues are around the world, not in all markets or countries, etc. But it is there, and the stigma is reduced a little bit to actually search help. So that's one thing. So I mean, for us, the top priority at the moment now is to try to help as many as possible, and that I'm not talking just within the markets that we operate. We're looking at new markets and try to scale our operations as much as possible. And we feel an urge, now post-COVID, or I don't know if COVID will be with us for some time. I believe, and we face. We believe that we face a pandemic within the mental health issues. It's coming our way.
Yeah, that resonates with me. We've seen mental health around the world. I mean, understanding that it exists, talking about it more, just bringing it to the surface, I think has let everybody understand that this is a systemic issue we have in society.
Definitely. And I think, time is of essence here. Sweden has been a little bit criticized, I guess, for not really having a full-on lockdown. I've been quite happy to be able to actually get to the office, to be frank. For us, it's been very important for the full team to be able to meet together. We have kept our social distancing even in the office, but it's been very important to be able to cope up with the demand that we're having, to meet face-to-face and carry on the business. So it's been challenging, but at the same time very fun, and we look forward to expand further on and provide the service to more people.
Well, this has been a great conversation. I've loved learning about the business, about some of what you're doing and your priorities. As we close out here on this quick coffee chat, we definitely live in a time when empathy is more important than ever, whether it's living through the pandemic, whether we see, what started in the US but manifested itself globally in terms of, racial justice. Empathy is up on everyone's agenda. And so I'd love to, maybe you could share a personal story about some time in your life, career, personal, where someone showed you, some unique kindness or empathy. I think it's a great way to close out.
Yeah, I've been living in some different countries. So well, coming up from Sweden, I believe in doing good, you get good back. So, but I've been living in Africa and many other markets as well, and countries and so forth. So my personal experience, when I really I was so touched by it is I was out traveling with a friend in Asia, like backpacking. This was during my university exchange period with a university in Asia, and so we took some time to travel. And during this travel, my friend fell sick, like literally really sick. And I mean, when you're out there in the outskirts, we're actually at that point in time, we're in the Philippines and quite far out on a remote small city, because I wanted to go surfing. I love that. But so my friend joined me and we went there. It was a very remote location, small city. My friend fell sick, and well, obviously you're not from that market, you're not from the country. So how do you deal with that? Where do you go? And the day before we met with a really nice guy. He actually looked a little bit like Barack Obama. Very funny coincidence, I would say. A guy that just took us on his motorbike and like a taxi service. So when my friend fell sick, we had this was a bit before the time. Well, we exchanged the numbers, I think, a little bit post the social media, and you didn't have any, Facebook and so forth, or maybe that was around at the time. But nevertheless, I think we had his phone number, but we had agreed with him that we would meet the day after because we wanted to go to the city for, having a dinner. So, well, my friend being sick, I met up with him and I explained to him oh, my friend is really sick. We don't really know what it is. She's not feeling fine. And he really he took it on him on a personal level, really. He took her to the hospital. He was sticking through the whole night with her, helping her out and making sure that she got food. So I was super touched by that, and still are, and we are still in contact each year. He sends greetings, I send greetings. So super nice guy. He looks like Barack Obama. So
I love that. I mean, kindness from strangers is a great attribute of the world we live in. And so I love that story. Thank you for sharing it. And thank you for sharing everything else about yourself and Mindler. It was great to chat.
Thank you. And this has been a great chat, even if it was on remote. But, we believe in remote. So I think we can have a good conversation anyway.
Thanks for joining our podcast, Magnus. I'm fascinated by Mindlers' growth. Congrats on the very impressive numbers. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next.
I also love Magnus's point on how improving CX impacts remote mental health care services. Mindler's dedication to decreasing customer wait times and fixing fragmented experiences with limited resources are not so different from what we see from other B2B and B2C companies. Fixing those common issues provides real value for patients who, as Magnus puts it, are often not doing fine. It's good for the customer and good for Mindler's growth.
Magnus didn't want to give away all of their growth secrets, but the one thing you all should take away from this episode is, in the customer experience world, last touch points leads to better customer satisfaction.
Not only that, Pedro, as Magnus and most of our guests mentioned throughout the season, empathy is the most crucial skill to have when connecting with your customers or patients, regardless of your industry.
Don't miss out our last episode of the season with Max Yoder, founder and CEO of Lastly. And if you like our episode, don't forget to rate us and subscribe on your platform of choice. We need you to do this show. Give us a bit of love, and hopefully we'll be back with another season soon.
And when Pedro and I are not recording this podcast, we are part of Zendesk for Startups. If you're a startup, go to www.zendesk.com/startups and sign up to join our program.
Qualified companies get 6 months free of Zendesk software for customer support, sales, and customer engagement teams.
They also get connected with our exclusive community of leaders and partners who are changing the landscape of customers' experiences. Talk to you next time.
Stay hungry.